This is Dr. Kerstetter. I would like to discuss some practice ideas and some ideas about the style of this year's all-district and all-state bass clarinet music, the Allegro Spiritoso. Number one, the tempo. They have marked 120 to the quarter note. That is really fast. I recorded it at 110 and that seemed really fast to me. So I think if you could get it to 100, that would probably be fast enough to show you what that would sound like. Here's exactly 100. The 16th note sections still sound pretty fast. So beyond that, I would say wherever you're comfortable playing it, it's better to nail it and not feel forced than to try to play faster than you can just to say you did it. Okay, now regarding the style on this, the first practical bit of advice you're going to need is what to do on the little mordents, the squiggly lines. And basically that means one trill. On F to G, a really slick way to do this is use the G sharp key. That's much easier than trying to trill your thumb one time. The trill that happens in measure 19, you're really not going to have time at this tempo to get more than one trill in either. So for all intents and purposes, it's basically the same thing. Another thing that is part of the style of Baroque music is when you have phrases that match to make echo effects. So what I like to do is play the first two measures a little bit louder than the third and fourth measures. Another thing that's really worth knowing is you have the note B flat lots of times in this. On most bass clarinets, if you play the A key plus the third right side key, that's the trill fingering A to B flat. On a B flat soprano clarinet, that fingering can sound a little bit thin, but on the bass clarinet, it's fantastically clear. It's really easy to get to. You use both of your strongest fingers, your index finger of your left hand, your index finger of your right hand. Again, it's the third key, if you number from the bottom, the third side key plus the A key. And I would use that pretty much for any B flat that you can in this piece. Now as we go further, tonguing starts to become an issue. And essentially what I would do on this, if you play all your eighth notes long, none of the eighth notes have staccato dots, or few of them do. Do you really want to play? That doesn't sound very dance-like. I would play all the eighth notes bouncy and kind of in a dancing style. 16th notes, interestingly, they generally have staccato dots. And if you try to play, or number one, it doesn't sound very good. Number two, it's really hard to do. So when you practice slowly, I would actually make these notes long. So I'm going to put my metronome on at 66, a pretty slow speed. I'm going to start the pickup to measure 21. Notice I put some space between the 8th notes, but with the 16th notes, I just tongue them on the long side, because when I go fast, there's kind of in between. This is 86. You'll notice that they still sound long, but they're starting to get short naturally. When I get close to 100, they naturally get short. In fact, you wouldn't want them much shorter than that. So aim long when you're practicing slowly. Okay, looking forward, I would not take the endings. I notice that some all-district music tells you to stop after the first note of the first ending. All state, it says to play the entire piece, but I would not be ready to play first endings. You'll go on to second endings. Okay, now, very important. This reminds me of when you discuss breathing. On the first page, most of your breathing spots are going to be pretty easy until you get to like measure 21. Then you don't really have an obvious spot starting to pick up to 21. You don't have any more rests until, I believe, measure 48. So you're not going to get one really satisfying breath. You're going to need a series of smaller breaths. I would space them out every 4 measures or so. So what I have marked is a breath at the end of measure 24, actually the middle of measure 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and after the first note of 28, then going forward, 31, 32, 33, 34, between beat 1 and beat 2 of 34. And this allows me to grab a little bit of air here and there and never totally run out. You get the idea. It's got to be a quick breath so you stay in rhythm. I would have all these marked though. When you get nervous and you forget to breathe, it makes you even more nervous and you start making fingering mistakes. Okay, a very difficult line happens around 52. And again, the key here is just aim long when you're playing slow. Then it's plenty short when you get fast enough. All right, back to the breathing idea. On the 3rd page of this, you have a 16th note passage that goes on for, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 measures. So make sure you breathe before this starts. So we measure 61, 2, 3, 4. Breathe after the 8th note, because that's your last chance for a long time. Etc., etc. You got a long ways to go. And then finally, right there you need to know a little bit of Italian. Più lento means slower, so really pull the tempo back there. Make it very clear to whoever's listening to you that you know what più lento means. And retard even more. Then you see a tempo in measure 81, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 85. Actually, a tempo should begin on the pickup to 85. Now we have another group of several measures with 16th notes. Make sure you breathe before it. I think I played a B flat, so it would be natural, but you get the idea. You have several measures in a row. Now, this goes up high to a high A, and some people are going to notice that it's a lot harder to sound good up high, and this could be the problem of the instruments you're playing. My take is that makes it even more important that you practice this long. The instrument's going to want to get separated the higher you go. Also in this passage, it's very important to leave common fingers down, like in measure 89. If you leave the 3 fingers down on the right hand on that last note, you're ready to go for D. Put a nice retard on the next to last measure and hold the very last note out like you are confident with what you have done. I hope these tips help you, and I wish you the best of luck.